All right, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you back, and more on the police shootings and the video released by the family of Keith Lamont Scott, who was shot by police and killed in Charlotte. That's the Charlotte shooting. We'll be joined by Quanell X, leader of the new Black Panther Nation and community activist, momentarily. Well, we'll welcome in Quanell. Quanell, I know at this point you haven't had a chance to see the video, so you're at a little disadvantage, but I want to play it for you again so the folks out there know, and you know, I know you know, but this is shot by the wife of Mr. Scott while the whole incident was taking place. She was not in the car. She was like in front of her home. This all took place, I think, like in proximity to her home. So what we see is kind of the cops, you know, with their guns drawn, at least one or two cops with their guns drawn. We see the car that Mr. Scott is in the background, and then it shifts to after he was shot laying on the ground. But we hear the wife the whole time. We also hear the cops. So let's just play it for the viewers, and you can listen, Quanell, and we'll take it for what it's worth. Go ahead, guys.
Keith, don't do it. Keith, get out the car. Keith, don't you do it. Don't you do it. Keith, don't you do it. Did you shoot him? Did you shoot him? Did you shoot him? He better not be dead. He better not be dead. I know that much. I know that much. He better not be dead.
All right. So, Quanell, I know you're at a disadvantage. You've been running around all day, so you haven't seen it. But it's apparent that the cops are saying several times, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun. You hear his wife saying, Keith, that's the suspect who was killed. Keith, don't do it. Don't do it. Get out of the car. Get out of the car. So, to me, I mean, well, let me ask you. I mean, does this not solidify the cops' claim that he had a gun, or at least they thought he had a gun?
No, what it does, it solidifies that they did instruct him on several occasions to drop the gun. And they've already said that in their narrative they put out to the public that they were telling him to drop the gun and he refused to do it. So it speaks to the truth that they were saying drop the gun. But does it speak to a fact that he actually had a gun in his hand? I'm not sure about that at this point.
Right. Well, we can't be sure about that, but and so much of that, you know, will come out when they release the tape. Although we understand that the tape, if the tape is inconclusive as to whether or not he had it in his hand, if they could show that a gun was present, you know, and if they could show that the gun, if there was no doubt that he had the gun was ready, you know, had his fingerprints on it. We know it was found in proximity. So if we find out he had a gun, and he wouldn't get out of the car. As a matter of fact, his wife said, they're going to break the windows. Get out of the car. Get out of the car. So they're asking this guy to get out of the car. Now, I just heard a report a little while ago from the family attorney, I believe, that he might have had a traumatic brain injury in an accident a couple of years ago. So why a guy with a traumatic brain injury who's slow to react would be driving a car on his own with a gun in the first place, I don't know. But, I mean, if a cop, as you know, Quanell, perceives a threat and danger, they have a right to shoot.
I don't think that's appropriate. I believe that standard should have been raised a long time ago, because many of us perceive things all the time that are not real, and a person's life is so sacred that standard should be raised.
Raised to what? Because the argument would be, of course, that a cop's life is sacred just as well. And if you wait for someone to pull the trigger, there are hundreds and hundreds of incidents of dead cops.
But you also have to understand that in a right-to-carry state such as North Carolina, what if somebody says, oh, I perceived the officer was going to do something to me, so therefore I reacted and did something to the officer? That's not acceptable. At the end of the day, human life is sacred. We must raise the standard and stop using these hypothetical theories as justification to keep a standard low to where people are losing their lives who never was a deadly force threat to law enforcement officers. The wife is saying something that I'm interested in, though. She's saying, don't do it, don't do it. I would like to hear from her. What do you mean when you were saying, don't do it, don't do it? And please speak to us truthfully and specifically what you meant by that, because I'm not sure what what she really meant, but she can clarify and speak, then she should do that.
Right. So what would you like to see the standard be? Because cops have a right to shoot if they perceive a threat, if someone disobeys, if someone reaches into their pocket when they're told not to, and the cop believes they're pulling something out, or they see them pulling something out. What standard would you like to see?
I think the standard should be one that they have to see a weapon, and that weapon has to be raised in their direction.
So you want a cop to wait until a weapon is raised? So what's to stop the perpetrator? Let me just ask you a question.
Let me tell you why I say that.
Yeah.
Because, see, I've done something you've never done.
I know you went with the police. I know.
I took that police simulation training.
Right.
And in that training, I shot 3 innocent people who didn't have a weapon. Because I was told if you perceive a threat, you can shoot it. I shot a woman who had no weapon because I perceived she had one.
Okay.
And so based on that training, that's why I know the standard has to be raised.
Okay, but let me ask you a question. What did that fictional, thank God, woman do to make you perceive it was a threat?
When she went in her pocket and she would not comply.
Well, you know what? You know what, Quanell? I'm sorry. If you don't comply with an officer who says, keep your hands where I could see them, and you reach in your pocket and you start pulling something out, if I'm a cop, I'm shooting, man, before they shoot me.
And I'm saying to you, sir, non-compliance should never be a death sentence.
But if so what happens, Quanell, if that woman in your scenario or in real life with a real cop, and I admire you. I told you that. I had you on after you went on that, took that police training. I admire you for doing that, and you said some great things after it. But what if that person is pulling out a gun? But you say even
right.
more.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. What if? But what if they're not?
Well, you know what? The benefit of the doubt in a society ruled by law has to go to the law enforcement officer, not the perp who is purposely disobeying orders and putting that doubt there. They're putting the doubt there.
Sir, let me say this. I worked on a case a couple of years back where a 97-year-old black woman was shot and killed by a cop here in Texas. And the cop shot her because she had a gun in her hand and she wouldn't put the gun down. But you know what? The woman couldn't even hear and didn't have her hearing aids in. And the cop killed her.
Well, you know what?
Come on, man. We got to raise
Quanell, so you're saying that a criminal could have a gun pointed at the cop before the cop has a right to shoot?
She never pointed
Not
the gun.
her. I'm not talking about her.
No, she had the gun down. And what I'm saying to you is you should be the law should read and should state that you have to see a legitimate threat, not just a perception, but you have to see a legitimate threat, not a perception.
But what does that mean? Earlier you said the gun has to be pointed at you.
It means this. If the man had a book in his hand and you thought it was a gun and you killed him, you should be responsible for taking that man's life because your perception was wrong. Well,
but you're trying to relate it to Carolina, and you're trying to say that that's what happened, but that's not what happened. We don't know that that's what happened.
Guess what though? Release the video and we'll all know.
Well, the people who have seen the video said it's hard to tell because of the angle of the video. But let me just
so right there that says show us the body cam video to show when you went inside the car, where was the gun, where did you find the gun, and that speaks even volumes more. Was it in his lap? Was it in his hand? Was it on side of his arm, or was it up under the seat, or was it in the glove compartment?
All right, Quanell, I always appreciate good debate with you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Quanell X, ladies and gentlemen, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. It's just interesting, and I always appreciate Quanell. And I disagree with him, but I'm glad to put a picture of Quanell again, so everybody can say while I'm talking about him. I'm glad that he took that police training. I'd love to do that. It's not easy. It shows you just how hard and how difficult it is, and I applaud him, and I thank him once again. Thanks, Quanell. Folks, conservatives can and must retake the White House and prevent a third term of the radical policies of Barack Obama. We all know that. This victory could happen only if we learn from the disastrous defeats of 08 and 012. In his new book, Armageddon, How Trump Can Beat Hillary, famed political analyst and New York Times bestselling author Dick Morris, he breaks down the issues. He spells out the strategies that can lead to a decisive conservative victory in November, the best hope of rolling back Obama's ruinous socialist actions. In Armageddon, A #1 bestseller on Amazon, Dick Morris reveals exactly how conservatives can stop Obama's secret plan to extend his influence and policies by electing Hillary Clinton. With the 2016 election almost here, be sure to get your copy of Dick Morris's political blockbuster, Armageddon. It's available at bookstores everywhere. Or get our free offer for Armageddon by calling the toll-free number or go online to get your copy of Armageddon with this free offer.